I-37 male was approached by my uncle a month ago. He's a trustee of grandmother's 95 and still alive estate and was told that her irrevocable life insurance trust of $800 was to be split equally between him, $400,000, and my mom, $400,000, upon my grandmother's death. My grandmother pays the premium each year out of her estate. Now, sadly, my mother died of cancer 2 years ago, and per the rules of the insurance, I've become the sole beneficiary of my mom's portion. Now, a week after being told of this trust, I received a call from my uncle stating that it's now my grandmother's wish that I give his son, my cousin, 32 male, $200,000 of the $400,000 I inherited from my mom. When asked what money he would give to his son, my cousin, out of his portion, he said nothing. He would keep the full $400,000 because he's the son of my grandmother. If I were to agree, he would have me sign a contract saying that I'll give up $200,000, as legally he can't change the rules of the trust or me as the beneficiary, so he needs for me to sign. Fast forward another week, and now I'm getting angry calls from my grandmother, who has dementia, saying that she wants my cousin and me to have equal money, $200,000 each. It has evolved from $100,000 to $2,000, now $200,000. She can't articulate where the money comes from and alludes to it coming from me, my money, my will. My grandmother seems to have no knowledge of the trust being the source of the money, making it clear that my uncle has been coaching her and hiding the details of how the trust money is to be dispersed. To make matters worse, my grandmother recently asked if I wanted to be written out of the family because I'm greedy. I've also received a text from my aunt, uncle's wife, saying that I'm a terrible grandson and I have no relationship with my grandmother, etc. All untrue. I love my grandmother dearly and want this to stop. Now, another issue is that my uncle is saying that there will be no money in her estate, will, at the time of her death due to her high cost of living, jazz band, movie theater, and 5-star restaurant in the lobby of her retirement villa. Thus, no money for me or my cousin will be available from her estate. This is why he wants my mom's and my inheritance to be split up for his son, who he says will get nothing from my grandmother. So, am I the idiot for not wanting to split my mom's portion of her inheritance with my uncle's son? Definitely not the idiot. I'm glad you're standing your ground. Do not sign anything. Your uncle is absolutely in the wrong here. He's manipulating your grandmother as you believe. Get yourself a lawyer whose expertise is estates, stat. Your uncle's likely in the midst of attempting to change the trust since he couldn't get you to sign away your rights to your money. He's the idiot, big time. Dude, lawyer up. Your uncle is up to something not good. If this was what Grandma wanted, she would have set it up a long time ago. Your uncle and cousin are greedy and think they deserve everything. Nothing to be lost from losing contact with them. This is all a bit unseemly for your uncle to be making requests of you about how to spend and divide Grandma's life insurance while she's still alive. Stop taking his calls and report him for elder abuse. Your uncle can do nothing about the trust, as it's irrevocable. I am somewhat familiar with trust, as we set up one for our son if my husband and I pass on. That's why your uncle's trying to bully you into voluntarily giving up some of your shares. My uncle is saying that there will be no money in her estate, will, at the time of her death, due to her high cost of living. This is really suspicious, and what someone who is stealing money might say. One thing an attorney could do for you is demand an accounting from the uncle as to how the money is spent. Trust nothing he says. Uncle is pulling some shady stuff here. Update. Thanks to all who have put in their advice. It's amazing to get an unbiased opinion. I have a consultation with an attorney today, and my father's been pushing me to report elder abuse, so the report is on the table. But in the end, I have no reason to believe this is my grandmother's wish, and not just my uncle's idea that he's feeding her. When my daughter was 2, I'll call her Sarah, my ex-husband of 5 years had an affair with my close friend. I immediately broke off the relationship. However, we remained civil for Sarah's sake. We decided Sarah would live with me. I bought my house before we were married, and we didn't want to uproot her too much. At the time, he earned around $18,000 per year, whereas I made more than triple that. So as far as child support goes, he paid about £150, and I picked up all the living expenses, except the trips he took her out on when she saw him once a week. He could have given me more, but as I said, I earned a good wage and wasn't struggling. So I put the £150 a month, along with £150 of my own, into a trust account for when she turned 21. My thought process being she'd have a hefty chunk towards a house deposit, university, etc., whatever she wanted when she was old enough. Until recently, I was always under the impression that he was still struggling with money from comments he made here and there about how he was struggling. But a few weeks ago, he turned up in a new BMW and said he'd started a new job a few months before, so it was clear that he was earning a lot more money. My daughter started coming home with gifts whenever she went to see him, perfume, expensive makeup, etc., which never used to happen. It didn't bother me as she's not spoiled and was very grateful for the gifts, and I was happy she was happy. Yesterday he called me and said for Sarah's upcoming teen birthday, he and his wife wanted to take her to Florida and asked if I would be willing to pay half. I said no, as I'd already bought her driving lessons and a car and couldn't afford both. He was aware of this as I told him 6 months before when I was planning, and he said he hadn't decided what he was doing yet, but he was welcome to take her, and I'd contribute towards spending money for her, or he could go halves on my gift with me. He refused and said that if I didn't pay half, he couldn't afford to take her, and I'd have to tell her why. This shook me, as I've never known him to be passive-aggressive before. He then said, "What about all the money I've given you all these years?" He knew I'd been saving it for her, and said, seeing as he had given it to her, he should have a say in how it's spent, and so we should use that for her holiday. I refused and said to him that the money was to provide for his daughter's living expenses, not for holidays. I decided to be responsible with this money, and that it was for her future, not her birthday. He put the phone down, and since she came home, Sarah has been very quiet with me. She won't say what he said, but given her reaction to me, I'm guessing it's along the lines of, "Your mom won't let you come with us." I've tried to talk to her, and I don't want to badmouth her father, but I don't think I deserve to look like the bad guy in this situation. Am I the idiot? Should I use this money for a holiday for her? Not the idiot, but you need to go back to court and modify child support from your ex, because he should be giving your daughter more now that he has a new job. Who knows how long he's been hiding his income? Please don't let him emotionally blackmail you into using money from your daughter's nest egg. She will be grateful to have the money someday. Tell him if he can afford a BMW, he can afford the vacation himself. Agreed. He should sell his fancy car instead. The dude wants to play Disney dad and have OP foot the bill. Your ex is a massive idiot for telling your daughter about a vacation he can't afford, then throwing the blame on you. My dad used to pull crap like this. He wouldn't take us on vacation or buy us Christmas or birthday gifts, as he insisted that child support should cover all of that. I was about her age when I went no contact with him, not just due to this, and that lasted for 20 years. I'd flat out tell her, though, that he asked you to pay for half of the vacation he's taking her on, and that you're not saying she can't go, just that you aren't subsidizing his vacation. Your daughter's old enough to know the truth. You can share the facts without bad-mouthing him. I'm a teen and I babysit to make money. I took a first aid course and a babysitting course. Last weekend, one of my little sister's classmates' parents had a wedding to go to and asked if I would babysit. I asked how late they would need me and if I should pack an overnight bag if they would stay out all night. They said that they would be home by midnight. So I asked my dad if that was okay because he was my ride. He doesn't want me alone in the car with adults that he doesn't know. So my dad was there to pick me up at 11:50. The kids were all asleep and I was watching TV. I texted them at 11 to double check that they would be on time. The mom texted me back, yes. At 12:30, they still aren't there. I texted again, no answer. I called my dad and he was angry, not at me. 1 o'clock, I called them, no answer. My dad went and got a coffee at home and came back. He's all calm, not good. He's ready to blow. I texted every 15 minutes, no response. 2:20, I have an idea. I texted them that someone had tried to break into their garage, but the alarm scared them away. They were home intoxicated in an Uber in 15 minutes. My dad made them pay me for my extra time before we left. He told me that I was not allowed to babysit for them again unless I charged them for an overnight stay. Yesterday at school, I saw the mom when I was picking up my sisters after school. She gave me crap for scaring her and her husband. They had checked their security cameras and no one had tried to break in. I said, sorry, the alarm went off, so I called you. She called me a liar, which is fair. But I don't feel bad about what I did. They lied to me first. My mom says I should have just sucked it up, but my dad says that they broke our deal. I feel bad for tricking them into coming home from their party, but they could have told me it was an overnight or texted me that they'd be late. My dad had brought me an overnight bag before when that happened. Edit. My mom wanted me to call the police to see if they had been in an accident, but I thought that if they were still at the wedding, it would cause a scene. Not the idiot. The fact that the parents said yes, they would be home at 12, and then couldn't or wouldn't respond for 2 hours is BS. Where she gets off being angry at you is crazy. They did not regard you and your time, forcing a minor to stay late and ignoring your text. The fact that they came home right after you scared them shows that they read your text and just decided to ignore them. You told a white lie to force them home after all other attempts failed. OP learned from your father, not your mother. She's too much into people-pleasing. You're a young teen and they took advantage of your babysitting. At least your dad was angry at the right people, and he got you the overtime pay. Your mom is an idiot for telling you to suck it up. If I thought my teenager was going to be home at a certain time because the parents said they'd be home, I'd expect my child home, unless the parents asked nicely if they could change the plans. I'd ignore that woman. She's an idiot for doing that to you. It doesn't matter what she thinks. I only hope that she doesn't spoil future business for you. My husband's sister was supposed to be married in September. I chose an item from the registry, but the exact item she had added had a weird detail. She had explicitly mentioned previously needing option A, but on the registry, she accidentally listed option B. So I asked her to make sure I got what she wanted, so she knew exactly what I was planning to gift. Sadly, they've broken up now. However, the gift hadn't shipped, so I canceled it. This past week, she reached out to me about it. Since she knew I was purchasing it and we lived far away, she was concerned that it had been delivered, but someone had stolen it. When I explained that I had canceled it, she was pretty upset. My mother-in-law has now reached out to us about it and feels that I was unkind to cancel the order. However, she feels that since my sister-in-law is clearly going through a difficult time and the holidays are approaching, it would have been more appropriate to let the gift reach her anyway. These are unfortunate circumstances, but this was a substantial gift, $700, and pretty well above the threshold of what I'd normally spend for a typical holiday gift. Before it comes up, I'll mention short and sweet that my husband's in the military and currently deployed, so that's why he isn't a big piece in this puzzle as I'm soloing this awkward adventure. So, am I the idiot for canceling a wedding gift when the wedding was canceled? Not the idiot. When a wedding is canceled, it would only be polite for the bride and groom to return the wedding gifts. That's the norm. Please do not feel guilty about canceling the gift. A pick-me-up for your sister-in-law would be a gift card for a manicure or maybe a facial, not a $700 gift from the registry. That is an expensive gift, even in terms of wedding gift standards. Exactly. Who puts a $700 gift on the registry? If someone demanded that for me, I would just ignore it and bring whatever I see right. A gift is usually in exchange for your presence. Is sister-in-law going to take OP and her husband out to a lavish meal and party, all expenses paid? I don't think so. There's nothing to celebrate, so there's no need for a gift. Honestly, OP's lucky that it hadn't shipped because it wouldn't have been returned otherwise. I feel bad for the guests whose gifts did ship since they won't get them back. You don't get almost got married but didn't gifts. She almost got married and almost got a gift. Poor sister-in-law. People's level of entitlement just blows my mind. I'm not surprised the wedding got canceled. Mother-in-law, I thought I was doing sister-in-law a kindness, saving her from having to ship the gift back to me. Unless, you couldn't mean. You aren't suggesting that she would keep the wedding gifts. Oh, mother-in-law, don't let her do that. People will hate her. Everyone knows gifts have to be returned. She'll be scandalized. I was going to say something similar, but this is even better. OP, clutch your imaginary pearls and channel any bless your heart Southern ancestors you may have as you deliver the perfection quoted above. Mother-in-law and sister-in-law are being tacky. I, teen female, live with my grandparents most of the time because my mom passed away when I was 8, and my dad wasn't really in a place to take care of me for a while. He finally got himself together and then married stepmom a couple of years ago. She has 2 kids, a preteen male and a younger male. Since then, he's wanted me to spend more time at their house. I still have feelings about being dumped on my grandparents, but he's trying. So I agreed to spend a few days a week there to see how it goes. I don't like the stepfamily though. The boys are loud and kind of feral. I would have never been allowed to act the way that they do. My stepmom clearly doesn't want me there, but is being fake nice for my dad while passively aggressively nitpicking because I, quote, need a mom to pick up the slack. It became a big issue a couple of weeks ago because my stepmom is a horrible cook. Her food is bland and overcooked, and I don't know how my dad stands it. She fights with the boys all the time to get them to eat. I tried to get out of the family dinner time by saying I had to study, but my dad insisted. That night, stepmom made just the grossest meatloaf I've ever seen in my life, and vegetables that had been boiled to death, and I couldn't. Stepmom was already mad about something else, I don't know what, so she snapped that if I didn't like it, I could fend for myself. So I did. My gram is an amazing cook, and I usually help her in the kitchen, so I found some staples and leftovers and made myself some potato cakes and stir-fried veggies. It smelled so good that my stepbrothers wanted it too, but I only made enough for myself. Stepmom wasn't happy, but she let it go. The next night I picked up some things on my way home and cooked for myself from the start. It turned into a fight because the kids wanted my food and wouldn't eat stepmom's, and I decided to go back to my grandparents early to get away from her. This week my dad said that my stepmom doesn't want me cooking just for myself because it upsets her kids and it's rude. So I can eat what she makes for dinner or cook for everyone. I told him she told me to fend for myself, and it's not my fault I'm a better cook. I'm staying home if it's eating her gross food or being their chef. My grandparents agree, but my dad and stepmom are super mad, and my dad says I'm giving up on him because of food. My dad says I'm giving up on him because of food, says the man that gave up on you until he got a wife. Your dad puts you off to focus on himself in his own grieving process because he lost a wife. He seems to forget that you also lost a mother. It sounds like he's pretty self-entitled and found a wife that will feed his way of thinking. Not to mention that she's doing that gross competition with the daughter crap. It's not rude because you're literally only doing what she told you to do. Maybe your kids wouldn't be so upset if she learned how to cook. It's seriously not that hard to learn these days. Seriously. If she wasn't a terrible stepmom, she would see this as an opportunity to bond with you by asking you to teach her some things in the kitchen. But of course, she has to be petty and insecure instead. You're not the idiot. You did what she told you to do. Stay with your grandparents, OP. This isn't worth the headache. The bottom line, he left you, so he needs to be the one to reach out and compromise.